Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be doing a mini composition cover, and this is all done out of your 5x7 hoop. And your instructions should have already given you the size of the fabrics that you need to have pre-cut out for this project, and also any supplies that you may need. For this one, you would need just a 6x8 cut of fabric, 6x6 cut of fabric, and 2 6x6 cut of fabric, and then a fold over elastic cut to about 5 inches. This is the fabrics I have chosen for this project. You know, something kind of simple. This is a cotton fabric. When it comes to these projects, it's really up to you what you want to use, what is easiest for you to use, what do you think the person you're making for would like. So like other in the hoop projects, material and thread is all up to you, and sky's the limit because there's so much out there. You can do so many color combinations. Okay, so we're going to get started on this tutorial, and our first stitch is going to be a placement stitch. I'm going to go ahead and do that stitch, and I'll be right back. Okay, first placement stitch is done. Now we're going to take our first piece of fabric, which is the 6x8 that you cut out, and you're going to put it down on your hoop, pattern side up, right side up. And you're going to make sure that you want the fabric to completely cover your placement stitch. And then your next step is going to be your tack down stitch of this fabric. Okay, tack down stitch is complete. It secured my first piece of fabric to the stabilizer, and for the next stitch it's going to do the quilting stitch, which is that pattern you have chosen from the different designs. And for this one, you're going to want to change your embroidery thread to the one you've chosen for the stitch itself. I'm using black initially. Normally I would probably, for this, I would use a white, but I'm using black so I can show you guys the outlines. For the next one, I am going to use a more decorative color for my quilting stitch. All right, I'm going to change out my colors, and I'm going to do the quilting stitch, and I'll be right back. Okay, next part of the design is complete. It did the quilting out stitch, and you can see it's starting to take shape. This is either side of the cover, and I've chosen a royal blue embroidery thread to go over this nice teal, almost a sage green color of fabric. And so your next design is going to be the spine, which I'm going to change the color again. Keep in mind, everything is done in the same hoop right now, so you don't have to take anything out. You don't have to change anything. As of right now, from when I started to this portion right here, everything is the same and nothing has been taken out or changed. So this is really super easy, and I hope you guys are following this really well. And let's get started on the spine. Okay, so I've gone ahead and completed the entire spine stitch out, which compiled of your next 3 designs, which were the lines in the middle, the decorative line on either side, and then the decorative stitch that came out off of those lines. And for the next one is going to be a placement stitch for your elastic. Okay, so I'm going to do the placement stitch, and I'll be right back. Okay, so right here there's a small line that I've done in black. That is your placement stitch for your elastic that you're going to put down. So you're going to take your elastic and you're going to place it down. Make sure you're lining up and make sure the elastic is right on the line and just a little bit over. And you're going to take a piece of painter's tape and you're going to secure it to your hoop. That way it doesn't move during the tack down stitch. So your line is right there. And then I'm going to secure it on this side to make sure that the tape is not in the way of your tack down stitch. So I'm going to put this back on the hoop. I'm going to do the tack down stitch, which should be right about there, and I'll be right back. Okay, so the tack down stitch was completed right there, so now it's safe to remove your tape. And now what the machine is going to do is your next stitch is going to be the same exact stitch, but on the opposite side, which will be right over here. So what you're going to do is you're going to let the machine put your tack down stitch. You're going to take your elastic, put it over the tack down stitch, and then you're going to tape it down the same way you did on the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and jump forward and make sure that my elastic is attached to my fabric. And like I said, this part is same exact what you did on this side. It's just on the opposite side. And you're basically just attaching your elastic to your fabric. Okay, so now I have my elastic and it's secured to the fabric. And now our next step is going to be taking those 6x6 pieces, which are the folded flaps, and you should have folded them in half and then ironed them to make a nice little fold. And what you're going to do with these is you're going to put them with the fold side facing the inside and the raw edges to the outside, and you're going to place them on top of your cover fabric. So what you're going to want to do is, let me zoom in a little bit. See how I have the folded side in this way, and then this is my raw edge, where you're going to take it and you're going to line the raw edge up with your cover fabric on the bottom. And you're going to do that for both sides. So that's this side, and then I'm going to go over on this side, take my folded edge, put it towards the middle, and then I'm going to line up my raw edge right there with the raw edge right here of my cover. And you're going to place that there. And to better secure it, you can put tape on both sides, placing them, put a little bit of tape here, 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 and here. That's just to hold this in place. And then once you've got that in place, this is all done in one step. So before your last stitch, you're going to complete this. Then you're going to take this fabric, which is your lining, and you're going to put it right side down. But first, you want to take it and you want to fold it so that there is a middle, and just put a little tiny crease in it. Not an iron crease, just a little crease. That way you can kind of see where the middle is. And that's what you're going to line up with these little notches on your 5x7 hoop, this little notch right here. You're going to line that fold up on this side and on this side. So that way it'll be right in the middle. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to tape this down to secure it, and I'm going to do my last stitch, and I'll be right back. Okay, after your last stitch, this is what everything should look like in the hoop. It did that last stitch all the way around, and it tacked down basically your folded pieces of fabric and your lining to your cover. So what you're going to do now is you want to remove everything from the hoop, and we're going to do some trimming, and I will be right back. Okay, now my project is out of the hoop, and I didn't do too much trimming because I actually wanted to show you what you're going to be doing for your next step as far as the trimming itself. The only thing I really did was trim off all that extra stabilizer. So this line right here is going to be your guide. And whether you do it with your fabric shears or you take a ruler that's going to help you make straighter lines, what you're going to do is, let me zoom in so you guys can see. You're going to cut pretty close to the edge, say about 1/4 of an inch, and you're going to make a square all the way around. And then once you're done making the square, you're going to want to trim your edges, which is your corners, and you're going to want to do like you do most handbags and totes. For your corners, you're going to want to make an angled edge, so that way when it does get flipped to the right side, it's easier to tuck those corners in. All right, so I'm going to do my cut, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like. Okay, so here it is after I've made my cut, and it was actually really easy with my ruler because I was able to line up and do exactly of 1/4 of an inch all the way around, and then once it was cut, I was able to trim the corners in to make it easier for when I, right here, trim those corners in, so it makes it easier on the turn. Okay, so now I'm going to flip this bad boy right side out, and you do it through the lining here. So you're going to flip it right side out, and you should be done. All right, so I'm going to flip mine right side out. I'll be right back. Okay, and here we have it. It took a little bit of love, but not too much, to get this right side out. It was mostly just making sure everything was in its right place and the corners were tucked out really good. And this is your cover part that you started with. And then you flip it over. You have those folded pieces. And then here's your lining, and here's your elastic. So this is your mini composition book, which you can get at any office supply store, anywhere office supplies are sold. And you're going to tuck it into this fold right here, and do the same on the other side. Slide it in, and then you have your cover. And this is for if you want to hold pages back. Oh my god, this is so cute. Okay, so the way I got it to this side, when you are turning it right side out, don't forget you also want to turn these little flaps, these folded pieces, outwards too. And that's where the corners come into play, to really get those corners tucked in there. And you're going to do them on both sides to really get that in there. But here you have it. And this can also keep it closed as well. You fold it over here, and it keeps your mini composition book from opening. And also for something like this, you can personalize it. So if you do have a editing stitch software like Embroidery, you can add a name or a logo, or even down the spine here, somebody's name. So these things, you can, there's so many color combinations, there's all different kinds of quilting patterns. So I hope you guys were able to follow this tutorial, and I hope you enjoy your project, and I'm pretty sure you're going to be making much more of these. So you guys have a great day, take it easy, and I'll see you for the next tutorial.